Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday to you out there on this November 6th, 2025. I got all your stories for your rush hour ride to work. Want to wish a happy birthday to my son August, his 18-month birthday, so a whole year and a half old. He's a big boy, and we love him more and more every day. On today's episode of the podcast, we're going to be discussing some sort of thoughts following the election. We're going to hear from Vivek Ramaswamy as he declares it a massive loss for the Republican Party. What Tommy Lahren has to say that Republicans can do to stop ditch the culture war topics and focus on the economy, which is what I've been saying all along. Let's all talk about the economy, specifically government shutdown, SNAP benefits being used to pressure the government to reopen, and members of our own audience are creating food pantries to help out. I wish the government was as kind as the people in our community. We've also got big updates coming first on Baldoni and Blake Lively, as we have Jed Wallace getting dismissed from his case. A big win for him for now. Also, Justin Baldoni's side issues a response through his power attorney Brian Friedman regarding the fake news that has been swirling about him accepting defeat. So all of that and more starts right now on The Rush. Yesterday afternoon, we were going to cover this Justin Baldoni stuff, but we ended up covering the Laura Owens, Mike Maricini case. Laura Owens, of course, ghosted. She ghosted her own trial. She wants to extend a restraining order that's already been extended way too long against Mike Maricini. Well, the case is dismissed. She claims she's in a hospital suffering some life-altering injury. She claims she's getting surgery. Meanwhile, 2 weeks ago, she claimed she couldn't attend for medical reasons, and then a day later, she was seen gallivanting on her horse, galloping, I guess, to the victory line, and maybe she won some sort of participation trophy in some sort of horse event. You horse ladies, you're kind of crazy. You know it, though. I've been kind of talking about how crazy horse ladies are. Not one has told me they're not. In fact, they're all writing in going, you got us. We're a little, maybe they got the stirrups tied a little too tight. Who knows? Stirrups, is that a term? Anyhow, let's dive into some more serious stuff. We'll get to the Baldoni content in a minute, but I wanted to first discuss the government shutdown. Trump has set another record. This is now the longest shutdown in U.S. history. He has broken the length of his previous one in 2018, which was 34 days. We are now on day 36. Now, this government does not have to be shut down, but normally during a government shutdown, you're negotiating terms to open it back up. That's what it's called. Both sides need to vote on it, so there's leverage. I'll vote for it if you do this or do that. And then if your constituents are upset, then there's pressure to get everything opened again, right? Obvious. Well, not exactly happening. There's no negotiating. There is no end in sight. This is like playing chicken blindfolded. There is just nothing going on right here. And I'm going to share the generosity as SNAP benefits have been denied. Even though there are fundings available, the government, even against the orders of judges, the executive branch is deciding not to fund people's SNAP benefit cards, their EBT cards, which is leaving people hungry. Well, luckily, we live with charitable humans that are creating their own grocery situations to help those in need. Have a listen.
We have been covering the pressure that food pantries and food banks have been under amid the government shutdown and the uncertainty surrounding SNAP benefits for millions of Americans. In this case, one Pittsburgh man has taken matters into his own hands to help his neighbors and perhaps inspire others.
My kids and I woke up this Steelers Sunday and decided to do something good. My boys and I started a food pantry.
That food pantry sits right on A.J. Owens' front yard in Pittsburgh, filling a need in the community as food assistance shrinks for millions of Americans due to the government shutdown.
I had one person say, oh, well, I have enough for 1 or 2 days, so when that's gone, I'll come over. And I said, no. Come now.
It started with a $150 grocery store run and with an old tote box that used to hold Christmas lights, putting the pantry together with help from his 2 young sons.
So first of all, this is so incredible to see that humans are coming together to help humans. No doubt about it. The thing that annoys me is that our tax dollars already fund programs to help those in need. They're not getting that money. We've already paid into a system to make sure we don't have to rely on our rugged generosity. Now, I appreciate that people are doing this. Absolutely. It is just such a shame that this is what our government has left us to do. From our own community, I got this message. My kid wanted to do an apple cider stand to raise money so she could give it to people in town who needed groceries. She raised $100. We gave it to 4 different moms. They were so grateful for even $25 to get them through a couple days. We plan to keep doing this. Tell me why my 10-year-old has more compassion than these grown adults. One of the moms was so embarrassed to ask for help. She had 2 scoops of formula left and no way of getting any more. When they say people are going to die, they are not kidding. Even WIC isn't active right now. It's literally blasphemy. Thank you for always speaking the truth. It is sad. It is extremely sad what is going on in this country. Now, we have people that are saying, well, the Democrats could just open things back up again. And I like this meme. If you let us take away your health care, we will let you eat. That's essentially what it is, because healthcare costs are skyrocketing now that they've removed the subsidies. My cost went from $1,500 a month to $2,200 a month. Imagine if I didn't have that extra $600 floating around per month. That's $7,000 a year. That is heavy money we're talking about. And that's money that could go to your kids' education fund. It could go to investing in your own retirement. All of these different ways we're being robbed blind. So there is no, they are stuck between a rock and a hard place. But to see the charity and generosity of people coming together, it's quite impactful. And what it shows us is that that we do have the funds, those that are living in abundance, to help those that are in need. And I just think it goes a lot further when we stop relying on the benefit, the generosity of the middle class, and we actually get the ownership class, the billionaire class, the corporate class to peel off some extra funding to help people in need. Wouldn't that be nice? Walmart. The people that own it, the Walton family, are worth $500 billion. And where are they right now? Are they giving away food? Here's Sheldon Whitehouse saying we could end this thing right now.
Over and over again, Senate Republicans have said, yes, we're willing to negotiate. We just don't want to do it now. We want to do it later. I would say you could negotiate right now.
Yeah, it's like saying, I'll buy that car, and then here's my credit card. We'll negotiate the price. It's like, no, let's agree on the price before we take it off the lot. The leverage is negotiating right now. They don't want to do that. And the theory is Trump just wants to burn it all to the ground.
And we could come to an agreement within a week that would put an end to the continuing resolution, and we could go forward. There's one problem. I think President Trump doesn't want the shutdown to end. I think his creepy minion at the Office of Management and Budget, Russell Vought, doesn't want the shutdown to end. They like the shutdown. They look forward to the shutdown. They gave Gatsby parties at Mar-a-Lago during the shutdown.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting, right? Is like they don't care. They don't know what it's like to be poor or to wonder if there's going to be enough money to put food on the table. I'm going to talk more about the result of this shutdown, this blue wave that happened, even though some people are saying, oh, no, nothing big happened, nothing to see here. Oh, you're wrong. And if you want to live with your head in the sand, by all means, do that. I'll share more on that in the second half of the episode. But let's move over to Justin Baldoni, as promised. So we've covered this kind of ad nauseum, this Halloween article. Final judgment entered dismissing his Blake suit, but she's not done with him. Justin Baldoni, in this sort of phrasing, made it look like he was conceding a loss. Taylor Lorenz, of course, says, will all the reactionary Democrat and right-wing content creators who spent months participating in his smear campaign against Blake apologize and admit they were wrong? Of course not. Now, what's ironic is I don't think Taylor, good friend of the program here, has issued a retraction of her opinion here because it was all bogus. We know that now. It was bogus. And I'm going to share what Justin Baldoni's attorney had to say. Buckle up, Blake. Justin Baldoni reveals It Ends With Us court battle is far from over. So she was celebrating through favorable PR, something that really it was a full nothing burger. Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, told the Daily Mail that that is wide of the mark and insisted no deadlines had been missed. The veteran lawyer revealed that the reason he didn't file an amended complaint, which led to Judge Louis Lehman entering a final judgment on Monday, was to preserve Baldoni's right to appeal. In a statement released exclusively to the Daily Mail, Friedman said, "The truth regarding this case continuously and completely gets distorted in the media. Even something as simple as a procedural update has resulted in a total mischaracterization." He went on, "At this point, we have to set the record straight. No deadlines were missed. Our clients chose not to amend their complaint to preserve appeal rights. In the meantime, we are focusing on Miss Lively's claims. We remain fully committed to pursuing the truth through every legal and factual avenue available and look forward to our day in court." Yeah, I mean, it could be his $400 million lawsuit has some effort to be looked at in the appeals court. The more that we're finding out about the ways in which Blake Lively conspired really to extract illegal text messages, and also the way that evidence hasn't showed up to back a lot of her claims. All right, coming up next, I'm going to share what a PR expert has to say about the soft editing that's going on between these gossip magazines as they cover their tracks. This story coming next. Today's episode is sponsored by Veracity, an all-natural way to slim down, get energized, and sharpen your focus. Veracity is tackling the root cause of so many issues, metabolism. With Veracity's drug-free, clinically proven, and doctor-formulated solutions, you can support your body's needs to live your healthiest life. Try Metabolism Ignite, the #1 doctor-recommended GLP-1 booster and GLP-1 alternative. No side effects or allergens. Metabolism Ignite is a natural, safe, plant-based aid that results in an 85% reduction in hunger and is clinically proven to lose, on average, 9 pounds in 90 days. So what's in Veracity? It's a unique blend of lemon, verbena, and hibiscus extracts, green coffee bean extract, and magnesium. Veracity is safe to take along with GLP-1 medications to aid in boosting your metabolism and appetite control. Head to veracityselfcare.com and use code RUSHHOUR for up to 45% off your order. Once again, that's veracityselfcare.com for up to 40% off, and make sure you use my promo code RUSHHOUR so they know I sent you. Veracity doesn't just offer a quick fix for fatigue or weight gain. The products actually help you maintain a healthier lifestyle. It's the best kind of self-care. All right, here's Chris from Reputation 911. He does a good job of explaining the nitty-gritty behind what's going on with PR companies as they shape the conversation regarding Blake and Justin. Have a listen.
Here's one of the clearest examples you will see of PR working quietly behind the scenes to change what you're reading or shape what you're reading in relation to the Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively situation. Hey everyone. So a couple of days ago, TMZ published this fairly controversial article. A number of publications did their own follow-on stories citing the TMZ article as their source. And the Justin Baldoni team was actively pushing back behind the scenes to either amend and correct or retract those articles. And we saw them have success with Us Weekly, who published a piece, but then a day later essentially deleted it, scrubbed it from the internet, which is rare, I would say. But that happened. And what did they get in exchange for deleting and pulling back the story? Well, yesterday they published another story entirely that was billed as an exclusive that was basically with the Justin Baldoni camp and positioned him more positively. So that is PR. Here's one of the clearest examples.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting, right? It's a little bit of a quid pro quo. It's like, all right, delete this story, which is clearly inaccurate, and in doing so, will give you some information. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Symbiotic relationships, folks. So pretty interesting stuff. Now, the other big story in the Baldoni camp here is motion to dismiss plaintiff Blake Lively's second amended complaint filed by Street Relations Jed Wallace. So he has this motion saying, look, there's no jurisdiction here. I shouldn't be in this trial. Get me out of it. And as much as we want to see everyone, the whole gang together in this trial, if your business can remove yourself from very expensive litigation, go for it. So they say that they failed to establish personal jurisdiction over the Wallace defendants under New York's long arm statute. So So will they? Blake Lively, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, can now, I guess, go to Texas to try to file these claims against Jed Wallace. In conclusion, the Wallace defendant's motion to dismiss the Second Amended complaint for lack of personal jurisdiction is granted. The Second Amended complaint is dismissed as to the Wallace defendants without prejudice to refiling in a court that has personal jurisdiction. So ordered. November 5th, 2025. So pretty big updates coming over there in the Baldoni universe. More on that as it comes. So we shared with you earlier, and we'll dive back into it, a little bit about the framing of who's behind, who's to blame for the shutdown. I would love to hear the crisis PR discuss this because, you'll hear Republicans call this the Democratic shutdown or the Schumer shutdown, and then Democrats will call it the Trump shutdown. I mean, the truth is the Democrats could vote to have the country open back up again, but at what cost? And as you see by this meme here, to take, it's like agreeing to have our health care being taken away. So many people, something like 50 or 60,000, will be kicked off health insurance because they can just no longer afford the cost. And we're hearing these stories from people anecdotally, but also statistically speaking. So many people are in this issue right now. I went onto the marketplace myself to check it out, and sure enough, I'm greatly affected. I mean, $700 a month, that's just chump change. I mean, not chump, it's a lot of money considering you've got you've got a rising costs in so many other ways. So the economy is the issue. That's why Mamdani won in New York. He ran on affordability. Tommy Lahren, a Republican, said this: I don't necessarily think these election results are indicative of what's going to happen next year, but the Republican Party is going to have to learn how to close the gender gap. Republicans are not going to like when I say this, but you're losing with millennial and Gen Z women. I could tell you part of the reason why, but you're not going to like it. Stop lecturing women on how they should stay home and be wives and mothers. It's not your business. Focus on what women voters actually care about, the economy and safety. I completely agree with Tommy Lahren here. The question is, how the fuck is the Republican Party going to talk about the economy? The economy was the reason why people voted for Trump in the first place. They said, well, we don't like his comments, but he's good on the economy, and that's all that matters. The truth is, economy is the most important thing for voters. Everything else can fall into a place when people are thriving. I mean, obviously there's other issues here, but when you're faced between putting food on your family's table, that's it. That's the bare minimum. And that's what Trump ran on. Lowering prices. He claims to be lowering grocery prices. Luckily, people have their own wallets and they buy things and they understand that that is simply not the case. Now, you saw J.D. Vance saying, women really need to be moms and that's the important thing. And, you've got like the kicker from Kansas City Chiefs giving commencement speeches claiming women's number one duty is being home as a mom. Maybe if they want it to be, but stop telling them what the fuck their purpose of life is. Everyone has a different purpose. And when you treat people like they don't have agency, they're gonna respond. And now, so that's one of the reasons. But again, I'm getting comments from a lot of people saying, oh, it wasn't a blue wave. The Democrats just won votes they should have normally already won. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Virginia, literally every county flipped blue. There were counties and precincts that were plus 30 for Trump. If something moves like 5 points, that's a lot, but from plus 30 to Trump to plus 76 for other candidates, you're talking about a wild swing. You're talking about less than a year after the last election, people are saying, this is not what the fuck I signed up for. Maybe you did, maybe other people did, but the vast majority of people said, no, this ain't it. This terrorizing people ain't it. Here's what Steve Kornacki has to say about the polling he saw, which led to this blue wave.
Steve Kornacki, what is your biggest takeaway from election night as we look ahead to the midterms and beyond?
So we had a finding in our poll on Sunday, our NBC News poll, that I think a lot of people, I know there was a lot of skepticism about, and that is we ask about the generic ballot. Which party do you want to see control Congress in the 2026 midterm elections? We had the Democrats leading by 8 points on that. There are some other polls that have the Democrats up, but generally not by as much. One of the stories this year has been in a lot of the polling in the spring and summer, the generic ballot was staying pretty close, and Republicans were taking a lot of heart from that. Because if you went back to Trump's first term, Early on, the generic ballot opened up in 2017, 2018 for the Democrats, and it stayed there, and there was the blue wave in the 2018 midterms. So into the fall of this year, the generic ballot was pretty tight, and Republicans were saying, see, it's going to be different in 2026. The generic ballot is tight this time. The Democrats have this massive image problem. And we saw in our poll on Sunday that Trump's numbers had fallen, that Trump got very low marks on the economy, and that Republicans and Trump were blamed more than Democrats on the government shutdown, and that the generic ballot margin had opened up. When I see the results in Virginia tonight, but when I really see those results in New Jersey and in parts of New Jersey that were supposed to be politically competitive and were politically competitive in the last election, they are entirely consistent with a generic ballot that has the Democrats ahead by 8 points.
Now, that's an insane lead that they have in the polling, but don't take this for granted. Continue to look at those like Baldoni, who have real specific policies. A friend of ours, been on the show recently, a content creator, was saying, I don't get this Baldoni thing. He makes all these promises, but he doesn't have any policies. And I was like, are you insane? He's literally got he's got more policy positions than anybody that's run. The biggest claim people have against him is more cultural issues, really. I mean, the guy has clear-cut solutions to problems. It doesn't mean they're all going to work, but there's so many people out there, like with Trump, you don't even get past him saying he has concepts of a healthcare plan. What the hell are you talking about? If the Republican Party wants to do this fight about who's going to be more affordable, who's going to bring the cost of living down for everyday Americans, let's have it. Then they're negotiating on our behalf, the Republicans, the Democrats, who's going to rise to power based on a message that helps us, not funds other countries and does this and does that. Who's going to help us? That's the position we're in right now. Vivek right here at least understands they lost.
Handed to us in New Jersey, Virginia, and New York City. Democrats swept all three. There's two key lessons for Republicans. Listen carefully. Number one, our side needs to focus on affordability. Make the American dream affordable. Bring down costs, electric costs, grocery costs, healthcare costs, and housing costs, and lay out how we're going to do it. And number two, cut out the identity politics. It doesn't suit Republicans. It's not for us. That's the woke left's game, not ours. We don't care about the color of your skin or your religion. We care about the content of your character. That's who we are.
Yeah, I mean, which by the way, it's so rich for him to say that. What an ideal to live up to. But the government is literally targeting people because of the color of their skin. That is a greater culture war than any war the woke left is fighting, because that's a culture war that they're literally using to rip families apart and deport them. Thinking that's going to lower grocery prices? Anybody with a remote understanding of how the economy works knows that's not going to happen. The idea that they're going to lower healthcare costs, look what they're doing right now. We're getting a glimpse into what's to come, which is the absolute insane raising of healthcare prices after they gut the subsidies that were the one thing, the duct tape keeping this whole thing together. So good ideas, Vivek Ramaswamy, to focus on affordability. But just a reminder, your party's in control of all three branches of the government, or of the executive branch in Congress. So you can go fuck yourself with those ideas because they're not being met. It's hilarious. All of the senators, the House of Reps, everyone that right now is not budging on the Republican side, they're seeing what is to come, which is you're going to get voted out of office. You're not fighting for the people. You're protecting pedophiles. You're literally doing nothing to help the cause right now. You're afraid that Trump's going to turn on you, and you should be more afraid that the American public is going to turn on you. That's where we stand. Those are your updates. Wild time to be alive, I'll tell you that much. All right, we'll be back this afternoon. Lots of content to get into then. We'll see you later. Of course, you know me, politics, pop culture, a little bit of everything. We're here to cover it. I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.